What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talk Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's talk some baseball MLB standings as we approach the trade deadline. The deadline is on August 3rd. That is in 10 days, I believe. Yeah, 10 days, so a week and a half. It's a week from this coming Monday. Let's look at the standings on July 24th. American League East, Tampa Bay Rays, still in first place at 59-43. They're holding off the Yankees by 2 games right now. They've had a very good year, been surprising to a lot of people. They have some really impressive pitching. Drew Rasmussen's come out of nowhere, had a fantastic year as their race. Brian Baker, a former Oriole reliever, you got him in a kind of a random trade a year or two ago. He's been outstanding closing games for them. He's replaced Pete Fairbanks very, very nicely. And they got a couple bats that are very, very good. Junior Caminero is an absolute monster. Jonathan Aranda's very good. J.R. Simpson's come up the second baseman and uses speed to get on base a lot. It's a very good ball club, and they are 9-43 right now. Yankees are at 57-45. They've been playing some much better baseball. We're struggling going into the break. Have played well coming out of the break. Obviously, still without Aaron Judge, but been without him for several weeks now. Not sure when he's coming back exactly, but you're expecting to get him back before the end of the regular season. But still, no exact timetable. I heard they're looking to buy Abdelin, which they better, because that's a team that has to go all in. They have an aging core. It's year 9 of Aaron Boone. You haven't gotten over the hump. Lockout coming next year. You have to go all in. I heard they're looking for a catcher. I would think Ryan Jeffers makes the most sense in Minnesota. He's on an expiring deal. Minnesota should be sellers. I'm not sure if they will be sellers, but they should be. Other than that, not a whole lot of catchers out there. Baltimore said they'd listen on Adley Rushman. The speculation about Hunter Goodman, who's had a monster year, but he's got 3 years of arbitration left. Would Colorado move him? I don't think that's a terrible idea. They are pretty devoid of talent, but I don't think Colorado would do it. And that's pretty much about the extent of the catchers that are on the market. Maybe Gabriel Moreno. I think Arizona said they would listen on him. But Yankees got a catcher there because Austin Wells is not a Major League Baseball caliber catcher, and I don't think JC Escarra is either. I heard they're looking for a right-handed bat in there, probably in the outfield with Judge Hurts. Stan's been out since the end of April as well. They're looking at that, and they're also looking at a at least one more bullpen arm or two. I heard they are definitely doing some shopping for some big pieces. So we'll see what happens with that. But the Boston Red Sox, what an amazing turnaround. 15-game winning streak ties a franchise record that they set in 1946. Have gone from 16 games under 500 at one point, about not even a month ago, worst team in the American League, to being 3 games over 500, and they are in playoff position as we currently stand. Also, they're only 4.5 games back on the Yankees, only 6.5 games behind Tampa in the American League East. What an incredible turnaround for the Boston Red Sox. His offense has completely turned it around. Starting pitching has improved. They can get Garrett Crochet back at the top of that rotation and get Roman Anthony back in that lineup at some point this year. Holy mackerel, this Boston team could get hot at the right time. And I imagine they're going to buy up a deadline. Baltimore Orioles been playing a lot better after a really rough first couple of months. You're at 50-53. And by the way, this American League is like the Eastern Conference from the 2010s that LeBron freaking skipped through to lose in the finals every year. So bad. They had gotten hot. They were cooled off by the red hot Red Sox, but they overall been playing some really good baseball. They had to win 7 in a row. You've won 8 of your last 10. Also, they're only 3 games out of a playoff spot. And the Toronto Blue Jays have really fallen apart. They are now 9 games under 500. We're at 47-56. They are 6 games out of a playoff spot. They are now in last place in the American League East. They've had a lot of injuries this year. So many guys have been hurt. And they're a team that's probably going to have to sell. They have a lot of intriguing pending free agents. Kevin Gausman has been great this year, and is an older pitcher on an expiring deal, but has been very good in the past. Was great in the playoffs last year. Shane Bieber, who you've had healthy for about, what, like a month? He's pitched well. Veteran. When healthy, is still a very good pitcher. Pitched in the playoffs last year, but was pretty damn good. He's on an expiring deal. And they got a couple others as well. George Springer is going to be a free agent. He's having a bit of a down year, was hurt for a while. Older player, but great postseason performer. A lot of power from the leadoff spot. Strictly a DH, but you could probably get him for not a whole lot. I think Dalton Varsho might be a pending free agent. He hasn't had a good year, but it's a guy who's a great defender in center field, has power, had a good postseason last year, has a good track record of being a very good player, so has some good speed for some versatility. So they got a lot of assets. I think a lot of teams would definitely be interested in. So we'll see what they do, but they're probably going to have to sell. American League Central, the Chicago White Sox are in first place. They've had a very surprising year. 54 and 47 for them. They just got Murakami back. They can add a legit starting pitcher next to Davis Martin, who's had a really underrated season this year for them, to that rotation. They should absolutely be the odds-on favorites to win this division, and could be an underrated team going into October. The Cleveland's not out of it yet. They're in playoff position. They're a second wild card right now. They're 54 and 50, only a game and a half out of first place. We just got Jose Ramirez back after he missed 30 games with a broken hand. Minnesota's still right there at 51 and 53, only 2.5 games out of the playoff spot and 4.5 games out of the division. In an interesting spot because Joe Ryan's only got another year of arbitration plus an option. He's an elite starting pitcher. Could he get moved? Byron Buxton's got a couple years left on his deal. They tried moving him last year. He wouldn't waive his no trade clause. So what happens this year? Ryan Jeffers is a pending free agent. He's had a good year at the catcher spot. Was hurt for about 2 months, but when healthy, he's been a very good bat this year at the catcher spot. Tigers, 49-54. Pretty sure they, as it stands, Boston may have surpassed him with that crazy win streak in totality. But I think since June 1st, they have the best record in baseball, Detroit. So they've climbed back into the race, but you're still 4 games out of a spot, 6 games out of the division. Will Trix-Skubal get moved? Casey Mize, a pending per agent as well. He's had a really great year. He's a sub-3 ERA this year in the Detroit Tigers rotation. So Detroit's in an interesting spot. Another team that normally they would be forced to sell, being 5 games under 500 at the deadline. Skubal would have already been a goner. Because the American League is so bad and that division is so horrific, they are still in the race. So very interested to see what they do. And the Kansas City Royals were at 43 and 61. They are 18 games under 500. They are the second worst team in the American League. Third worst in all baseball. They are very, very bad. They're gonna have to sell a bunch of pieces. They really should trade Seth Lugo. I think he's got another year or two left on that extension, but they should move him, even though he's having a down year. Michael Wacha's got another year left, but they should move him. Strike while the oven's hot with that one, and they should really embrace this youth movement. And they had a bunch of young guys on this team. Carver Jensen's had a good year doing the bulk of the catching. Jack Caglianone's taking a small step forward, showing off some of that raw power. So they have some young pieces on this team, but they need to strip this roster and move the pieces that they have and really retool, because they haven't really accomplished anything since their World Series in 2015. They were bad for a very long time. 2 years ago, you had a cute little year, winning the Central, going to the Division Series, but you weren't good last year and you've been horrific this year. We got excuse me, I'll be right back. We're back. My doorbell rang. It was a package, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't some stupid salesman trying to sell me something that I don't care about, but it wasn't. American League West is just nuts. The division's horrific, but it's led to some pretty crazy chaos. The Texas Rangers are at exactly 500 and are in first place in the division through 102 games. They are 500. They are in first place. That is crazy. But they have a lot of impressive starting pitching. DeGrom is still a very good pitcher. Eovaldi is still a very good pitcher. They have a bunch of young guys who have pitched well. Jacob Lattis had a breakout year. Jack Leiter's pitched well. So they got a lot of really impressive starting pitching. Hasn't been great offensively, but their starting pitching is very, very good. I wonder what they'll do at the deadline. I've heard that maybe they'll add on their bullpen arm, or have an average bullpen arm. Seattle's a game under 500, 51 and 52. Year hasn't really gone according to plan, but you're only a half game out of the division and 2 games out of the playoff spot. There's Cal Raleigh, who last year at 60 home runs, even before that was a perennial 30 home run guy at the catcher position, has been one of the worst players in baseball. He was hitting like 160. He was hurt for a while. He's just had a disaster of a season, and they've been very bad offensively. Even their pitching hasn't been as good. Their starting pitching's been good, but not as great. Luis Castillo's been very bad. And the bullpen hasn't been as good. Andres Munoz, their closer, has not had a good year. So I heard they are looking for a closer at the very least, and probably should be looking for a bat as well. But they've been very mediocre this year. Houston's is at 50 and 54. You were really struggling for a while before this recent three-game win streak, but you're still 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. Only 2 games out of the division. Their team is definitely in an interesting spot. They have a bunch of veterans on some bigger deals. Could they want to get off the Josh Hader deal, possibly? So a very interesting spot they find themselves in. There's been speculation would they trade Yordan Alvarez, who's having an incredible year and is one of the best DHs and probably our best DH in baseball outside of Ohtani and best DH in the American League. But just if you're going to be going into a rebuild, you can probably get a massive haul for him. But I don't think they'd move him, but there's some speculation about that. The Athletics, who have fallen apart, 43 and 59, got a couple of guys out. Kirk just got hurt. Brent Rooker is out for the year. They just have no pitching, and they've fallen apart. They're going to have to sell at the deadline. And the Angels are just a horrific baseball team. They're at 41 and 62. Second worst team in baseball by a half game. And they're the worst team in the American League. They need to blow it up. Enough. Trade Reed Dempers. He's got to go. I'd trade Soriano too. Those guys got 2 years of arbitration left. Over having fantastic years. So high on them. Get holes from both of them. I'd even move Mike Trout. They won't. This is as healthy as he's ever going to be. Probably the best you're going to see. You're going to get from him at this point. But just move him. Let him go in a World Series somewhere. He deserves it. Joe Adele's move him. Just strip this thing down, please. They won't, because Art Moreno's a dumbass. Also, you have an interim GM right now, and John Mozeliak, longtime Cardinals executive, Paramount GM. The GM was fired last month, but they are just a pathetic organization. National League East, Atlanta Braves are at 60 and 42. They are the third best team in all of baseball right now. They have had a really great year. They got some very good starting pitching, even with all the injuries. Chris Sale's been magnificent. Grant Holmes has pitched well. Hopefully they can get Strider back before the end of the year. Maybe Trellenbach as well. I can see him adding a starting pitcher at Abadell. I think that's what will happen. Offensively, they've been really great, and that's without Ronald Acuna for a good chunk of the year. And the bullpen's been unbelievable. Why should be in the manager of the year conversation. And they have had a really great year. I think they should definitely buy at the deadline. Philadelphia, of course, a really horrific start by ever since firing manager Rob Thompson early on in the season. Don Mattingly's come in and done an excellent job as the interim manager. Mattingly's a baseball lifer. Also got a great career as a player, mainly with the New York Yankees back in the 70s. He was a manager for the Dodgers a while ago. Then was with Miami for a while as well. Had an okay career as a manager. Was a bench coach for Toronto last year in their run to the World Series. He left Toronto after last year, became the Phillies bench coach, and he's done a great job as interim manager. And he may be the manager this year as well. They are one of the playoff teams right now. They are in playoff position and only 4.5 games out of first place. And they definitely have to go all in because this is an aging core and it's definitely running out of time. They could use another bat, and I could see them adding a bullpen arm as well. Marlins, I don't know what happened to them. They were playing some great baseball. They were one of the best teams in baseball. They had a stretch in June where they were 20 of 26. They have completely fallen apart. They have lost 9 games in a row. And all of a sudden, they're now only 1 game over 500 at 52 and 51, and are 2 games out of the playoff spot. So still right there in the mix. But if they continue sliding in full 4 or 5 plus games out come deadline, they will have a very interesting decision to make about Sandy Alcantara, one of the league's best starting pitchers, who would bring back a haul. But if you have a chance to make the playoffs, you'll want to wave the white flag. So these next 10 days are going to be very crucial for Miami. Washington's at 52 and 51 as well, so they've been a lot better than I expected. A lot of good young talent over there. They're 2 games out. Another team that's kind of at a crossroads. Do you have a chance to sell high on CJ Abrams? Do you do it, or do you try and contend for a playoff spot? Do you flip Foster Griffin, who's had a great year in your rotation? So some interesting decisions that are going to be had in Washington. And the Mets are 43 and 60. They are 17 games under 500. They are the 3rd worst team in the National League. Absolutely horrific. I don't need to even talk about them. You've heard my rant about them many times already. National League Central, Brewers are at 64 and 38. second best team in baseball. There's a half game behind the Dodgers for the best record in baseball. They are rolling, have a ton of starting pitching. And this is without Brendan Woodruff all year. But Jacob Mizorowski's been unbelievable. He's showing the National League Cy Young this year. Sprout's pitching a little bit better. Logan Henderson has had a good year. He's had so much pitching. The bullpen's been great with Trevor McGill and Abney Uribe and DL Hall and Chad Patrick. They just signed Lance McCullers to pitch out of the bullpen, trying to revive his career, and just so much pitching. They're not great offensively, but you have some decent pieces. Yelich is still a good player. Churio is healthy. And we know how good they are defensively. Bryce Terang at second. I want to say Caleb Derby. He's in Boston now. But speaking of pitching, Kyle Harrison has had a really good year. William Contreras is one of the best catchers in baseball. Just so much young talent. Luis Laros come up and played very well. Cooper Pratt's come up and played very well. So they have a ton of young talent. Jesus Made, second baseman prospect, is on the cusp of coming up. He's playing very well in AAA. I think he'll be up before the end of the year. Brewers are always very aggressive with promoting their prospects, and that strategy has worked for the most part for them. And they had the piece to go make a big move at Abadella, which I heard they might actually do this year. So from them, I would go for it because you got to go over the hump at some point. You have the team to do it. You know, I thought you had a team last year where they obviously get swept in the pennant by the Dodgers, but I think they really have a team to do it this year. Cubs were at 57 and 45. Obviously, very up and down year for them. They had two 10-game win streaks before the end of May. Then you lost 10 in a row. But right now, you're 12 games over 500. You are the first wild card of the National League. Great offensively, very good defensive team. PCA is otherworldly good, but not a lot of starting pitching. So many injuries in that rotation this year. That's why they made that pretty much emergency trade for a below-average Aaron Savali, but they should go out and get another starter. I think Freddie Peralta's kind of an obvious trade candidate for them. Buying low on him. The Pirates are at 53 and 50. They are a game out of the playoffs right now. I really wish the Pirates would go out and make a couple of moves out of the deadline. Help out this really elite starting rotation with Paul Skeens and Bubba Chandler and Jared Jones. And get a bat, get a real closer. But I doubt they will. But they have a decent team. Got a lot of young pieces. Horwitz has hurt your first baseman, but he's going to be coming back soon. He's had a good year. Hopefully Connor Griffin comes back before the end of the year. He was a Rookie of the Year front runner who's been hurt for a while with that broken thumb. But this is a decent young team. It's actually played some good baseball. Cardinals were at 52 and 50. They're only a game and a half out, so a young team that's exceeding expectations in the Cardinals, who completely tore it apart before the season, trading William Contreras, Sonny Gray, and Brendan Donovan away for prospects, is actually having a good year. And the Reds are at 47 and 54. They're 6 games out of a playoff spot. They're not very good. Just the bullpen is horrific. Offensively, they're not very good. They have some decent starting pitching. You recently got Hunter Green back. Chase Bird has been unbelievable. Other than not a whole lot to celebrate. And I think they're probably going to have to sell. Eugenio Suarez wasn't had a good year, but did hit almost 50 home runs last year. He's been a perennial 35-plus homer guy for most of his career. He'd bring back something hypothetically. And I wonder if they'd listen on Hunter Green as well. Dodgers and NL West, best team in baseball. That's with Kyle Tucker being not good at all. Teoscar Hernandez has been hurt most of the year. Mookie Betts hasn't produced. He was hurt for a while. In the rotation, Ohtani hasn't pitched in a couple of weeks. They're holding him out from pitching right now because he's got this bulky knee, but he can still hit for now. Rogi Sasaki hasn't been much of a factor, but Justin Wrobleski's had a fantastic year. Yamamoto's been very good. In the bullpen, even with Evan Diaz being injured most of the year, he's about to come back. Cameron Scott's taken over the closing. He's had a bounce back year. And between Alex Vesey and Blake Trun, they've had enough. And it helps. Ohtani's still going to probably win MVP. Max Muncy has had a really great year. Freddie Freeman's still been Freddie Freeman. Even with Will Smith hurt, everyone's favorite villain, Dalton Rushing, has taken over as a rookie and done a good job behind the plate for them. Andy Paz has had a breakout year. They have talent falling out of their ass. And I'd be surprised if they are not at least in the World Series once again. Diamondbacks are at 54 and 49, playing some good baseball. Got a good young group over there. They are in playoff for this right now. They are the last team in. Padres are at 50 and 53. 4 games out of a spot. I heard they're expected to trade Mason Miller. Looks like it's might be happening. I think it's the right move. Get a haul. They're a mediocre team to play their farm system for no reason. Get back some of those prospects. Move off Mason Miller, who I do believe is the best reliever in baseball. Get back a haul. Get back some of what you gave up. And I think they should look to move off a guy like Fernando Tatis Jr. in the offseason as well and go in a different direction. The San Francisco Giants are at 42-60. They are a disaster. They've lost 5 in a row. Tony Vitello's so in over his head as the manager. They got Devers on that huge deal, and same thing with Chapman, and same thing with Adames. They should try and get off those contracts. They'll flip a couple of pending for UFAs. Luis Ariz is going to get flipped. He's a 300 hitter. Has had a good year defensively at second. He can play first. He's definitely going to get moved. And they'll move anybody whose contract is coming up. I can see John Holy getting moved. I think he's got another year left with like some option in his deal. He'll get moved. And the Colorado Rockies are the worst team in baseball. Surprise, surprise. They have one of the worst pitching stats I've ever seen. And I honestly think they should trade Hunter Goodman. As good as he is, as young as he is, get a massive haul for Hunter Goodman and actually try and rebuild this team. Some basketball to talk about. LeBron James has finally stopped dragging out this narcissistical decision and signed the Philadelphia 76ers on a 2-year deal worth $8 million. This guy is such a freaking joke, okay? I want him to show his mouth. I want Rich Paul to show his mouth. Saying, oh, we're not going to prioritize rings. We want to be accepted. And he goes to Philadelphia, who's got Jaylen Brown, an All-NBA player in his prime. Tyrese Maxey, an All-NBA player in his prime. BJ Edgecombe was just a Rookie of the Year finalist. Joel Embiid's a former MVP. Just what an absolute joke this guy is. What an absolute joke. The biggest nauseating, obvious ring chaser in the history of National Basketball Association. And he's a Sixer. And this better be his last contract. I can't stand this nauseating piece of garbage. And the NBA needs to go F themselves for waiting to reschedule until this guy signs. What an absolute joke. He's known he's going to Philly for ever since the Jaylen Brown trade went down. He's wanted the whole day to himself. He wanted, nothing else going on in the world. He wanted all the spotlight for himself, as his bitch ass always does. He wanted the World Cup to be over. He picked a slow news day to release that he signed with the Sixers. Guy's a complete joke. I can't wait to see Philly lose him the second round this year. Blackhawks going to hockey for a man. They signed Patrick Kane on a 2-year deal of $8 million a year. So they do think this is normal play. I don't think Patrick Kane's an $8 million a year player anymore. But crazy full circle moment for Patrick Kane, future Hall of Famer. Obviously was a major piece of those 3 Cup-winning teams for Chicago. He's bounced around for a little while. With the Rangers for about half a season. Was in Detroit the last 2 years, but is still a good player. He goes to Chicago. Some bad news about the Carolina Panthers. I did my NFC South preview yesterday. I picked them to win the division, but Nick Scorton is out for the year for torn ACL. Scorton's a good player. He had a good rookie year last year. Still was only going to be 22 years old this year. Last year had 5 sacks, 47 tackles, a pass defense, a forced fumble, and 7 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits. He was second on the team in sacks, quarterback hits, and pressures. It's a pretty big loss for a kid who's second round pick a year ago, was productive as a rookie, and was set to be their second best pass rusher this year, next to Julian Phillips. That's a pretty decent loss for Carolina, so we'll see how much that affects them. So unfortunate news for Nick Scorton and the Carolina Panthers. Now let's talk about the NFC West. Let's finish off the show. I'm going to do my NFC West preview. This is the last division by division preview that I have to do. So let's get started. First off, it's the Los Angeles Rams. They are my Super Bowl pick. Just gonna put it out there. Definitely taking the over on the 10.5 wins. They're an older team, but clearly going all in. Matthew Stafford, obviously, this is gonna be year 18 for him, and he is still in the best in the league. He won MVP last year. Have a great running game with Kyren Williams, who's a stud. Blake Corum is also a good back. Puka Nacua, when he's not saying the most ridiculous stuff off the field. is a top five receiver in the game, absolutely. Devontae Adams is also very good. You have Jordan Wington, a young guy there. Xavier Smith is another young guy with some talent over there. The offensive line is probably the one slight weakness, but I don't think it's bad by any means. Alaric Jackson's a very good left tackle. Steve Avila is good. Him and Kevin Dotson are good guards. We'll see how Warren McClendon Jr. looks as their starting right tackle. But overall, I think they will be fine. And defensively, they also have a good unit. Obviously, adding Myles Garrett is absolutely insane. Him and Byron Young got Kobe Turner and Poona Ford. I mean, good luck running on that team. Braden Fisk. This team is going to be nuts up front. In the secondary, you make the big trade for Trent McDuffie, who's an all-pro. You bring in Jalen Watson, his teammate in Kansas City. He's also a good corner. You have two solid safeties with Cameron Kitchens and Cam Curl. And there's still some legit rumors that Aaron Donald might come out of retirement. Like, just this team is absolutely nuts. Not to mention they have the best coach in the sport, in my opinion, in Sean McVay. Nate Schiehaus is now the offensive coordinator, with Mike LeFleur leaving to be head coach in Arizona. Their defensive coordinator, Chris Shield, we all thought was going to leave for a head coach job. He comes back. This is the most talented team in the NFL, and I think they definitely clear with 10.5 wins. I have them win the division. The Seattle Seahawks at 10.5. I have them going over. I think they'll be right on that number, like 10 or 11. I think some slight regression is in store for Seattle. You did lose some talent in the offseason, but this is still a very good team. Sam Darnold proved that he's a good quarterback in his league. Good for him. You lose a very good running back and a Super Bowl MVP in um, Kenneth Walker. So your running back room does worry me. Zach Charbonnet coming off a major injury. He's a very good goal line back, but I do not think he's a three-down back. You take Jadarian Price in the first round. A bit of a reach, but he's not a bad player. You brought Emmanuel Wilson, who's a solid number two back, but I don't think he's a full-time starter for a full year, but he's a good fill-in back. You still have a bunch of key pieces. The offensive line still intact with Charles Cross and Gray Zabel, who was great last year as a rookie, and Abraham Lucas and all those guys. JSN, who last year was the best wide receiver in the NFL, just got an extension. He's there a full year of Rashid Shaheed's going to be very impactful. Elite deep threat, great returner as well. Cooper Kupp is still there. And then you got on defense. This is still a very good defense. You do lose a couple of guys. You lose, who's a safety? You lose Kobe Bryant in your secondary. You lose Boy Mafe up front. But you still have Leonard Williams, one of the most versatile D linemen in the sport, with Jaron Reed and Byron Murphy. Marcus Lawrence is still there with Dante Fowler, who's a good rotational pass rusher. So you still have a very good defensive line, one of the best in the sport. Still has some decent depth. At linebacker, you still have Ernest Jones, who's a dog. Still have Ushin Nwosu, who's very good. The secondary, Devon Witherspoon's top five-ish corner in the league. He's very, very good. We'll see what Josh Jobe does as a full-time starter, but he was good last year. Nika Amenwari was hurt late in the playoffs last year. He should be fully healthy this year. He was really good last year. Julian Love's really good. This is still an excellent football team. You're not as deep as you were last year, and your running game is going to be a lot worse. That's probably where you're going to be hurt the most. Clint Kubiak, your offensive coordinator, leaves to be a head coach, so your staff looks a little bit different, but you still have a ton of talent on this team. So Sam Darnold, Mike McDonald's, easily a top five head coach in the sport. Great defensive mind. This is still going to be a very good team. In third place, I have a San Francisco 49ers. I'm not super high on them. I'm going under 10.5. I think this is going to be a good team that probably will make the playoffs. But just the older age and the injuries scare me. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback when he has weapons, which he has, but will they be healthy? Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is one of the best players in football. Best back in the league when he's healthy, if you ask me. But will he be healthy? You had Mike Evans, who's still very good, but coming off a major injury, he's older. What will that look like? Ricky Pearsall has not been healthy his whole career. What will Marcus Robinson bring? You brought in Christian Kirk, who's completely cooked. Burnley is still on this roster because I don't know, the guy's losing his mind. Kale's a great tight end, still very good, but he's coming off a torn Achilles, might be hurt to start the year. And the offensive line, I think, is pretty good. Trent Williams is a dog with Jake Brendel. You bring in Robert Jones. But again, Trent's very old. Will he stay healthy? I think this defense will be better. Nick Bosa being fully healthy is going to be a huge piece. Same thing with Fred Warner. Those are two of the best at their position. Being healthy. Mike K. Williams, the first rounder a year ago, being healthy. You add Osa Odighizuwa, very good D tackle from Dallas, comes over in a trade. But still, that secondary looks rough outside of Demondre Lenore. You're relying on guys like Renardo Green and Melik Mustafa. And even up front, outside of Bosa and Oza, you're relying on guys like CJ West and Alfred Collins. You bring back Dre Greenlaw. You're hoping he can stay healthy, but this team has so many injuries. I think they're going to get bit in the ass by that for sure. Going from Robert Saleh to Raheem Morris is a downgrade as at the defensive coordinator spot. Morris is a good defensive coordinator, much better than he is as a head coach, but Saleh, who I don't think is a good head coach, I don't expect that to work in Tennessee. I do think, as the coordinator, he's probably one of the five best in football, at the very least. So, Niners, I have them going under. And the Arrows in the front, they're at 4.5. I think they still go under that. This roster is horrendous. This is the most obvious tanking roster I've ever seen. They have 5 billion running backs. You draft Jeremiah left third overall, who's going to be a great talent, but just doesn't make any sense. When you also have Tyler Rozier, who you just paid starting running back money. James Conner took a pay cut, but is still making starting running back money. Trey Benson was a third rounder 2 years ago, or a year or two ago. He's still there. I think Bam Knight and O'Connor might still be on the roster, so they have 5 billion running backs. Trey McBride is a top 3 tight end in football. I do personally still believe in Marvin Harrison Jr. Mike Wilson had 1,000 yards last year, but the rest of that core, Kendrick Bourne's okay. Devin Duvernay isn't very good. And the O-line, I like Paris Johnson at left tackle if he's healthy. Samal's a good guard. That was a good out. The rest of that line is ugly. Defensively, Josh Sweat's very good. I like watching no one from a first round pick in the middle. Rest of the defense, obviously I have Zaven Collins at linebacker. Mac Wilson's okay. If Will Johnson can never get healthy, Buda Baker's still solid. The rest of the defense is very, very bad. We haven't seen it yet from Darius Robinson. Your starting quarterback is Jacoby Brissett. He is not a starter in the NFL. He's holding out for whatever reason. The rest of your quarterback room is Gardner Minshew, who's at best a serviceable backup coming off a major injury. Carson Beck, I don't know why that guy went in before the 6th round this year. He's abysmal and has a horrible attitude. And then Keon Slovis, who's never played in the NFL for a reason. So this team's going to be very, very bad. They're staring at least 5 losses in the face in this division. I don't think they touch the Rams this year. They're going to lose by 30 twice. They're probably getting swept by Seattle. Maybe they get a split with the Niners. Maybe if they get them later in the year if they're hurt. But they're going to, at best, I think, go 1-5 in this division. And then, yeah, if they win 4 games, I'd be surprised. So 4.5, ET's under I've never seen. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long, and have a great day.